Hey, you beautiful beings. Welcome back to another episode of Empowered Human with Nina Garcia. I am your host, and this is the growth oriented podcast that empowers you to transform from powered to empowered without invalidating yourself and without invalidating others. So, with that said, if you are definitely about feeling more confident and more secure at your core with how you human, how other people human, then this episode is definitely for you. Today, folks, we are diving on in and asking ourselves, in fact, all throughout March, because this episode is one of 4 episodes that are all going to focus on you leveling up emotionally. That is the question that we have for this episode, for all of the next few episodes. How can I level up emotionally? If you're ready to lean into your edge and explore this, grab a journal or a really good friend, because we are definitely going to create some dialogue around this. Yes, I want to know. I want to know what comes up for you. I want to know what's working, what doesn't work. And of course, we won't be able to explore everything around emotional intelligence and emotional, all of the bits that I'm going to tell you. But we will certainly be exploring at least one facet that I feel pretty confident is going to be able to give you something to chew on as you move forward. So grab those journals, grab those really good friends to dialogue with about what comes up for you in this episode on emotional landscape. The next one will be on emotional fitness. The third one will be on emotional wealth. And the last one will be on emotional security. And right now, I'm so curious, y'all. Are you ready to play? Let's take a breath on in. Ooh, we're going to start this episode with a breath. Breath work's super important. Why might that be? Allows you to ground, okay? It allows you to get back to this present moment, which is incredibly important when we're thinking about your emotional intelligence, your emotional ability, your emotional fill in the blank, all the things that we are going to be able to explore in this episode and in the next few episodes upcoming for you. A lot of people right now are struggling with their own emotional regulation. Okay. They don't know how to name what they're feeling. They don't know that they are feeling. And then when they do feel really big feelings, they don't know how to express those feelings or even address those feelings. And so I am hoping over the course of this month that I am able to offer you some skills that you are able to maybe run with, that maybe you want to sit and think on, or maybe you throw them in the trash because they don't work for you today. And that's okay. Whatever works for you works for you. And if it doesn't, that's okay. Yes, we're here to transform things from powered to empowered. And I'm not going to make any assumptions about what should, quote unquote, or should not work for you because I ain't sure. Yeah. All right, let's do this thing. Today's episode is on the emotional landscape. Okay. And when we think about landscape, I really want you to be pretty literal with that. I want you to imagine that you, my friend, have your own island, okay, your own individual island. And this individual island is made up of all your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, your lived experiences, your biology, your identities, your roles, all of the narrative experiences. These are the stories that other people have told you that you haven't lived, but you've heard. Yes. The historical experiences of your identities and your roles and your family members, things that have affected you prior to you actually being alive on this planet. Yes, they've affected your identities and roles up to this moment. All of that is happening on your individual island. And this is pretty important when we think about this because that's a lot of things, y'all, right? There's a lot of things that are happening on your island. There are a lot of things that are happening at any given moment on the landscape of your island. And if we consider this island to be your individual culture, it means that as an individual, your thinking, feeling, behaving, what you do is all designed based on a variety of factors. Everything that I just named can actually affect how you think, feel, and behave. Now, for some of this is like old news, right? But for some of us, this is a new way of thinking about how we experience our own emotional selves. If you never had an experience growing up that suggested you should own your emotions and explore them so that you can move them through you, it would make sense that as an adult, you might struggle with your emotions. You might struggle to express them. You might struggle interpersonally, right? That's in relationship. You might have some emotional challenges. And so, if you are out there with your journal listening in, some of the nuggets I've just dropped are: what if we imagine you have an individual culture island? You have your own customs. The way that you think, feel, and behave is all based off of a variety of factors like your age, any disability you might have, religion or spirituality, ethnicity, race, nationality, indigenous origin, gender. I could go on, folks. There are so many different pieces that could be happening on your island, affecting the way that you show up in this world. And so, if we can accept that, it means that when you feel things emotionally, it's not just because some like random hand out of the sky was like, you're going to feel mad, you're going to feel sad, you're going to feel happy. Like, that's not how it works, okay? It is not magic. Every single human being is designed with an emotional energy, right? You're designed with energy, it's in you all the time. And what ends up happening is something happens in the world and it sets off that energy. Yes, it kicks up that energy, it changes that energy, it transforms it to what we call emotions. Okay. Now, I'm oversimplifying this so that you can have an idea of what this might be like in your own life. And as we explore your emotional landscape, I want you to start to think about all of the things that we've already said are happening on your individual culture island. And then I want you to think of this: where are the hills and where are the valleys? Where are the mountains that are your challenges? And where are the valleys where you get to rest? Where are the forests that you're very familiar with? You know, all the pathways. And then where are the deep, dark, hidden caves and forests that you dare not enter or do not like to enter? You might avoid them. Where are the rivers in which you feel you can definitely cruise down? And where are the raging torrents in which you would not dare to step in, and yet you might keep falling into? I want to invite you to explore your emotional landscape. Now, if you're creative out there, I invite you, grab some paper. You can actually draw this out and get really creative. For everyone else, if you're like, no, that's not me, Nina, then I really want you to see if you can imagine this. If you're unfamiliar with what a landscape might look like and you can't think of one, think of a real landscape that you have been to. The last time you were really at a beach, at the mountains, in the backyard, walking down the street, whatever landscape you can, start to see where your own bright spots are, things you feel very familiar with, where your own dark spots are, things you might want to avoid, not deal with, push to the side, not explore. In an empowered human universe, what we do is we invite you to be transparent about everything that you are. It's the highs, it's the lows, it's the high highs, it's the low lows, and it's everything in between, because that is what makes you the unique human being that you are. And I, as a therapist, cannot support my clients to heal if they do not first have the courage to show up with all the baggage that life has given them without judgment. I want you to really start to explore being honest about the things you love about yourself that make you feel vibrant, and also the things that make you feel not so vibrant. All of it makes up who you are and everything in between. Yeah. As we continue to explore your emotional landscape, you might be more aware of those spots. You might even say, for those darker spots, Nina, why would I even want to explore that? I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. First off, it's one thing to say that you can traverse your landscape. right? Which means you can actually live your life because guess what? You are carrying that landscape all around with you, everywhere you walk, everywhere you go, every conversation you have, every time you show up with somebody else in the emotional arena. Yes, folks, in the emotional arena, which you do every day, you are carrying that landscape with you. So every time you feel confident and secure at your core, it's because you are familiar with the landscape. And listen in, every time you are uncomfortable, avoidant, don't want to go into something, upset, all of those things that you might feel that are uncomfortable, that are not green zone, they're yellow flags. We're going to talk about that more in another episode, right? They are flagging to you as not green zone, not comfortable, not free flowing. All of those things are also what you are carrying with you, and they are definitely going to show up at some point on your landscape. And it is going to lead you to show up in a very particular way in your relationships at work, in your relationships at home, in your relationships out in public with strangers or people you haven't met yet. It is going to show up because it exists as a part of you, whether you like it or not. It's going to show up because it exists as a part of you, whether you have acknowledged it or not. So, as we explore this question, how can I level up emotionally? And I say to you, your answer in a nutshell is explore your own emotional landscape. Be willing to do that. One of the skills that I want to offer you in the adventure challenge section, because this month is going to go a little bit quicker and a little bit more succinct for you. Yes, I want you to take it and run with it if you can, if it feels right for you. I want to offer you, I think, two or three things for the emotional landscape. Okay, first, the idea of it that you have your own individual culture, and hallelujah, okay, because you get to be your own individual person, and we love that in the empowered human universe. Yeah, we want to be ourselves without invalidating ourselves, and also without invalidating others. That's too much work. I don't want to have to worry about invalidating you. Okay, so some of the skills that I want to offer for this emotional landscape are one, consider your emotional weather. What's your internal weather like right now? You could literally tell me right now. Is it sunny? Is it dark? Is it cloudy? Is it nighttime? Do you feel like you're lost in a haze in a mountain range somewhere and there's no map on you and there's nobody around for miles and you have no idea where you're going? Do you see how it's sunny? It's pretty simple. It's cloudy is pretty simple. And how much more detailed we can get as you really explore your emotional landscape. I cannot tell you how many clients will begin with something very simple and they'll judge it and they'll say, oh, it's not enough. It's not detailed. And I will say, you start and you meet yourself where you are so that you can figure out how far you can go. We all start saying, oh, it's just sunny. Oh, it's just cloudy. Oh, it's just dark. Oh, it's just bright. Many of us are in a fog, but I guarantee you, you keep leaning in on this, you're going to realize there are times when you feel like you have a map versus you don't have a map. Times when you feel like you are surrounded by people and alone versus surrounded by people and protected versus surrounded by people and in threat. You are going to be able to explore your own internal weather, and it will be an excellent way for you to express to yourself, but also to others how you feel when maybe you don't have the words to express how you're feeling. Quick break for a sec. If Empowered Human is offering you something valuable about courage, healing, belonging, or love at your core, you may want to work with me. In particular, if you know of or identify as a high achieving man, and I say this quite seriously because if you don't, I'm going to drive you up a friggin' wall. High achiever that has leveled up in every arena except your relationship with yourself or your relationships with others. Visit empoweredhuman.love for more on how you can level up in your relationships with one of our Empowered Human intensives. Intensives understand the value of your time. Of the three that I offer, Walk into Courage covers a month's worth of weekly sessions in just 2 hours. Dive into Courage is a 3-day intensive that can cover up to 6 months worth of sessions. And Ascend into Courage is a year-long program to give you the skills and the network you need to level up for lifelong emotional security. When it comes to leveling up in your relationships, I got you. Head to empoweredhuman.love for more, but for now, back to the episode. Right now, your internal weather could be a tornado, it could be a tsunami, it could be literally anything, a day at the beach. Take this And if this sounds like something that's really piquing your interest and it sounds intriguing to you, I want you to take this and run with it. Your internal weather check in is a great adventure challenge for you between this episode and the next episode. Y'all know I love to give a good adventure challenge, okay? So take this and run with it if it sounds like it's the thing for you, okay? I want to talk about more than just internal weather, though. Here's the number two thing to think about on your emotional landscape. You might notice that there are some places where you feel like something's slightly off. It's a little uncomfortable, but you know what? You're making it work. We call these comfort camps, okay? You have likely been invited on your landscape to go into really challenging terrain, okay? To traverse something that's uncomfortable so that you can level up and grow into basically a new part of your landscape and map, okay? To become more expansive, to be able to explore and express more. Yes, this is that growth oriented piece that we love. But if you've set up a comfort camp, it is likely that you are not leaning into your edge and continuing to explore because it's uncomfortable. So, what you've done is you set up this camp and you just sort of sit there and you don't really grow. And you're making it work and you are. And I'm like grinning with like so much tension in my face right now. And it's like, oh my gosh, why? Why? There might well be a reason why you have set up this comfort cap. But for your sake, I hope it is temporary. It is natural to grow. It is natural to expand. And there's so much more that I could say on that, but I really do want to invite you as your number 2 adventure challenge this week. Are you setting up comfort camps or have you set up a comfort camp in a space where actually it might benefit you to gain some skills so that you can lean into your edge and grow into that next space? That is your number 2 adventure challenge. For those of you who are like, give me more. I got you. Okay. The number 3 thing that I want to invite you to think about, and it ties in very much so, I think, with comfort camps, is the idea of ignorance versus avoidance. They're two very different things. And when we think about your emotional landscape and you being able to walk this landscape as you experience the world around you, ignorance is when you do not possess knowledge. And so, if I say to you, hey, why aren't you doing this? Don't you know how to do that? You actually don't know how to do that because it wasn't a part of your lived experience. It doesn't exist yet on your landscape and in your individual culture. That's how ignorance works. And I say this without judgment. I am ignorant to many things. I have not experienced certain things, so they're not a part of my lived experience yet, and they're not a part of my individual culture yet. So that's ignorance. It's different than avoidance. Avoidance is when something has popped up on your landscape. Somebody has put knowledge or information into your space, and you are choosing to avoid it. You are choosing not to look at it and to ignore it because it is uncomfortable, because you may be confused as to how it might benefit you. It might be painful. Whatever the case, avoidance is when you have seen it and you are choosing not to address it. But guess what, folks? It still exists now on your landscape. So you can allow that monster, that scary forest, that dark cave system, that uncomfortable thing to continue to exist on your landscape while you set up a comfort camp over there, right? Or you can choose to lean into your edge and find comfort, just enough comfort in the discomfort of moving through that and really seeing how you can level up to explore more of yourself and more of whatever is happening in the world. That is what I planned for you in today's episode. Short and sweet. I want you to take those adventure challenges to heart. See what works for you. See what's going to benefit you, right, as yourself, others, and the world at large. We love to think systemically in the empowered human universe, and I want that for you. I don't want you to just think about what works just for you. That's little e empowerment and might even be little p powered, right? I want you to think about capital E empowerment, what works for you, because I believe that if it truly benefits and nourishes you, and you consider how it ripples out to others and the world at large, then it should be benefiting others in the world at large as well in the empowered human universe. So I won't say any more on that because I do really want you to explore your own emotional landscape and how you can level up emotionally. That's what I planned for you today, folks. Stay tuned because in episode 2, we're going to be talking about the first part of the emotional security equation. What? I know. Emotional fitness plus emotional wealth is what equals emotional security over time. And so our next episode is going to be on emotional fitness. I can't wait to share it with you. But for now, stay tuned, folks. That's what I planned. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.